Okay, so pretty much all you're doing is you're taking advantage of Journey. I did Jund Dino's Journey, which you flip Journey easily through getting Forerunner, which kills all your other dudes, which makes it a lot easier to flip. In this deck, you take advantage of it through cards like Seer. This bro, that is a low quality picture, holy cow. Who can sacrifice himself at any point, and then also Brontodon. So you could put Journey on either of those guys, and then you sack them out, they come back. So that's beautiful. The other thing is I wanted a deck where at least 80 to 90% of the cards you draw, you're happy to draw at any point in the game. And that's kind of what I wanted with this deck. And we'll get into how that works, but in the meantime, just understand that's kind of the philosophy for the deck. Maybe the only cards you're kind of unhappy to draw are Cherished Hatchling and Drover really late game. But other than that, you're happy with like 90% of the cards. But we'll get into it. So the overview is you're flipping Journey. You're using Priest and Drover to either ramp you into the late game or let you survive into the late game to get all your bombs out there. And then Journey just seals it. So that's what we're doing. So we're going to move on to interactions. Yeah, there we go. See? Professional. Overview is kind of a waste of a slot, but that's fine. I will say this deck is not optimized. This is based on my card pool and what I've been able to test. So I think the mana base, I'm going to go left to right with how I explain interactions. That's how I usually do it. So the mana base is pretty straightforward for how to fix it. So you just turn the Tranquil Expanse and 1 Evolving Wilds into Sun Petal Groves. You can leave the Foul Orchards. We don't have the black coming on tapped lands yet, but you'll swap those out. And then, yeah, you just have, I like at least 1 Evolving Wilds. That's always good. Plus your mana fixing is really tight with Drovers. 4 Drovers and 4 Seers that can tap for any color. So it's super sick. 10 out of 10. Best deck NA, I would say. Not really. And then we'll go into the beginning cards. First is 1 Commune with Dinosaurs. Like I said, this deck isn't optimized. Ideally, I would change this for either maybe another Bomb or... I do have another Ripjaw Raptor, but that curve's a little rough then. You just need better 2-drops. I don't have good 2-drop dinos, hence Cherished Hatchling. But I would swap it out for one of those. But it is important to fix your mana early on. And in the late game, it lets you get your bombs. So you're always happy to draw it. It's just maybe you could find a better version. So is it knobs on mid-range? Yeah, that's about right, Kenyon. Most of my decks are mid-range. And that philosophy I've always had is I love mid-range because turning the corner against aggro decks is my favorite. It's like the best feeling when you know you're going to win because you shut down all your threats, they have no cards in hand. But then also, you get to turn aggro against control decks. Because I don't like control mirrors because it goes on forever. So I like to be able to change. And then also, change based on the situation and then also has the most decisions. In a way, I think I heard Shaolin say that too, is that why he liked mid-range, and I agree wholeheartedly. I like it. I like losing a game because I made the wrong decisions, not because I just ran out of resources. Because then I feel like there's something I could do to improve, and the next game is actually in my control. So that's why mid-range, 90% of the decks I'm going to make are going to be mid-range. I'm just going to put that out there. So yeah, that's Commune with Dinosaurs. Now we got Priest of the Awakening Sun. Now I have had 4 copies of this guy for the longest time. And I don't want to be running any of those Naya Dinos nonsense. I want to be a little bit more creative than that. Plus the mana base is... Actually, the mana base is good. I have 5 Rubon Crag, or 4 Rubon Crags rather. And 2 Sun Petal Groves, so it'd be easy. But this guy does work. I wasn't impressed with him for the longest time. Because against, again, with Naya Dinos, you'd rather have like a threat here or something that could get you a threat like Commune. And you're the aggressive person, so you don't need the life gain that bad. And then if you're late enough in the game that you're doing his Sacrifice to Search, which costs 5 mana, you'd rather be playing a Dino. So you'd rather just have a Commune and then play the Dino. So he doesn't even really fit in the Naya shell very well, unless you're going for that super long game with like Zakama or something, but that's like tier 2 anyway. But with this deck, hoo boy, he does work. He's easily gained me, especially if you have 2 in your starting hand and you have Plains turn 1, he's easily gained me between 10 to 24 life in a game. Like, no problem. Because he just stays there forever. Forever. And he does a lot of cool things. When I get to Journey to Eternity, I'll explain why he's like the secret backbone of the deck. So we're not very good against flyers, you can tell. So what he does is he lets you gain enough life so that you can start getting threats down and pressure the flyers to then start chump blocking. Otherwise, they just steamroll you. And then they waste their removal on him, and then you have like, you know, a 3/3 drover, and then like into Brontodon, into Raptor, and then you just steamroll them. So he does crazy work, and then also he is another sack outlet for Journey. So with 4, 8, 11 sack outlets to Journey, plus your guy can just die in combat, you're gonna flip Journey. When you get Journey, you're gonna flip it. Hold on, I gotta grab a jacket. I can tell I'm getting sick because I'm really cold in this like 68-degree room. So he does absolute work. That life gain is nothing to be bothered with. And the problem with him is that usually once you draw your threats, you're just gonna end up playing them anyway. But with the Seer over here, he puts cards back into your hand. And if you have multiples of him or get him back with Journey, you almost always have a Dino in your hand, if you want. You know? So if you need the life gain, you just leave the cards in your hand, or you sack him to put one in your hand on upkeep or something, or end step, and then he gains you the life again. So definitely all-star card. You want all 4, which is rough, because you don't want to waste your rares. That's why this deck is more like a fun deck than you should do this to unlock the cards deck. And Ninja's hosting me now. What? Sick. Thank you so much, Ninja. Appreciate that, dude. Shout out to Ninja. He was actually doing a review of the Amonkhet and Hour of Devastation sets before they move into, in a light of how they look in the arena setting. So go check him out for sure. Appreciate the hosting, bro. Thank you very much. So yeah, Priest of the Awakening Sun is a secret all-star. I never thought he'd be good. I wanted him to be good for the longest time, and I finally found it. So next is one Argyll's Bloodfast. Now this seems a little weird at first, but I might run 2. The thing is, it's when you flip it, it's a little dangerous. You need to have either a Brontodon or a Raptor that you can just waste. Jury to Attorney deck text, I came to the right place. Yes, Ninja. Yes, you certainly did. Love having you here, dude. Appreciate the host, bro. That is very much appreciated. So with the Bloodfast, you're gaining life off this guy. So every turn, it's paying for itself. Card Journey to Eternity. Oh, what up? Key MTG? Yeah, I'm just gonna call you K. KemTG. That's what we could do. Welcome, sir. And yeah, we got Journey to Eternity up here too. And then it flips. I could show you the flip side as well. Abzan, I believe. Yeah, and that transforms into this. Okay, it's fine. All right, cool. Appreciate that. Welcome to the stream, dude. How do you raid people? I want to start raiding at the end of my streams. It's more fun. Oh, that would be awesome. I don't know, to be honest. I think you could do like /raid or something. I'll figure it out and I'll let you know on Discord. That's what we'll do. Thanks. Yeah, no problem. So yeah, so it flips over into this. And don't worry, I'll explain everything we do with it once we get into it. I like to go left to right with it. Cheering with the host too. Appreciate it. You guys are too kind. Too kind. So yeah, absolutely. If you're not that familiar with it, I'm going to get to it, and it's like my favorite card. I have a whole 50-minute video of me talking about it because it's just a pet card of mine. So we're definitely going to get you in the know of all the interactions. So getting back to Argyll's Bloodfast, right? Priest of the Awakening Sun pays for all the life loss. So when you just keep it on the right side and you're not too pressured, it's really good. And then, honestly, there's a lot of times where you get enough mana with, 4 Drovers, 3 Seers, and 4 Ranging Raptors. Plus, this guy flips and can get you mana. You can go from, 11 or 13 life. You can control when this flips pretty well. Where you can just go down 6 or 8 life and then flip it, and then you can start sacking dudes. It also sets you up really well. Let me see. What is the other side? You guys remember what the other side flips into? Argyll's Bloodfast. Let's see the other side. Sorry guys, we're professional around here. Temple of... Okay, cool. We can pull it up in here now. Where did that just add? Get rid of that. Orazka. Here we go. What? That's not it. Aklazats. There we go. Why is the dude dressed like a girl? Wait, what are you talking about? This bro? That's the Conquistador setting, Youngin. But we'll get into that later. Why is it back to matchups? No. We're on interactions. There we go. Oh, because I was searching, that's right. So it flips on over to this. where you can sacrifice a creature and then gain life equal to its toughness. It's important that it taps for black mana too, because we're really only splashing black. Looks like a dress. Yeah, dude, it certainly does. So you got 4 black with Journey to Eternity, 1 with this, and then 2 Tetsamok. So you want a lot of black with Tetsamok to be able to reveal him. But so it adds to that, but it's not super important. You usually only need 1 or 2 extra sources to make him really useful. So you can control this flips easily. You can gain life to make it sustainable if you don't want to flip it. So you can keep drawing cards. And once it flips, you can sacrifice creatures to keep yourself afloat. All your dudes have a ton of toughness. That's 3 toughness, 3, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6, and then 8. So when you're in a pinch, you can even just play this. And if you know your opponent can't get lethal, it's really hard for them to fight through this guy. Absolutely phenomenal. Also makes it really easy to flip Journey, because you just play Journey, tap this to sack it, you get it back. Absolutely good. So I might even run 2 of these instead of Commune of Dinosaurs, but like I said, this is still a work in progress. It can be optimized, but right now 1 has been treating me really well, so we've been sticking with that. Next we got 1 Cherished Hatchling. This is more of an experiment, and like I said, because I don't have a lot of good 2-drops, you might consider running the green-white bro. Be right back. No problem, gamer. The green-white guy with Enrage that... Enrage. Sorry, I'm sick. So I still sound a little sketch. He might be decent here. Since you can, you know, make him into a big dude and he'd be a threat. But the one thing I like about Cherished Hatchling, I haven't been able to test with him too much, but he has been pretty good. Because, so what happens is he dies, you then can then play other dudes with flash, play them in, and then they fight an opposing creature. So he acts as a removal spell, and also he makes it better to keep other dinos in your hand, which jives really well with Priest of the Awakening Sun. And, for instance, if you have no cards in hand, you have a Cherished Hatchling, they attack into it, you sack the Seer in response. There's a lot of conditions to make it 2-1 viable. Oh yeah, for sure. And so like I said, he's kind of just an experiment. He's not good as a 2-1. He's good as a removal spell, I'll say. Because we're kind of removal light. We have 2 bindings, 4 stomps, and 2 Tetsamoks. So if your draw doesn't come up in a way that you can get a lot of removal going, it's kind of hard to deal with those sketchy threats. So he's more of an experiment. Like I said, this isn't 100% optimized, but he's been doing pretty well with me. Usually he's just there to chump block, to be honest. Plus, you know, even when you're pretty much running out of Savage Stomps, you can even, I've had it a few times where I journey to bring him in response to their attack. He dies, and then you flash in, you either sacrifice with the Seer to get a dino in your hand and then play him, or you just flash in one you already had in your hand and then you kill their other dude, and then you're getting rid of pretty much 3 blockers. No, it'd be 2 blockers before damage. If they have first strikers, for instance, Rigging Runner and this guy have some fun times together. So he's not amazing, but until we have Hour Devastation and stuff in here, he's what we got. Plus he's another dinosaur. So he's just a way to make other dinosaurs staying in your hand a little bit better, to make Priest have a little bit more synergy. Because you want to be able to affect the board while still wanting to have something in your hand for Priest. So he's kind of a fill-in. Next we have Drover, who is just amazing. He's your ability, he kind of fuels your ability to accelerate into a big threat against the control decks, because you want to be able to go under them. So for instance, a turn 2 Drover, turn 3 Brontodon, swing for 3, next turn Ripjaw Raptor, swing for 6. That's kind of hard to deal with for control decks, unless they could just counter the Brontodon and stuff. But even then, if you're on the play, he could do some work. Even more important, he's mana fixing. If you're versing a green-red dinos, honestly, a lot of the times the play is just play him turn 2, turn 3, play Journey on him, and then just pass. Because now they have to attack into him in order to get any damage on, because they're the aggressor in this matchup. Our long game is much better. So you get the Journey on him, he dies, flips, and then you're just exploding into the late game. And if they don't kill him and they just wait, then we end up, you know, Ixalan's mining the biggest threat, where we set up a wall with Brontodons and Raptors. and then you're good to go anyway. You could start attacking in with him if you get any other dudes out that are enough that you won't die in the crackback. So he does a lot of work. Love this card. The mana fixing is also more important than you'd expect, because with only one set of coming to like buddy lands, it's really rough to get everything going at the right rate. So that's Drover. Next we got Abzan Seer, who he's super important. 2/3 is really important. So that pretty much shuts down dinos. Not dinos, vampires. Unless they have 2 anthems in play. In which case, you got bigger problems already. But he helps accelerate, fix your mana, and it's important. He doesn't have to tap to sacrifice, which is a huge deal. Because you can either, if you have Journey on him, you can swing in for the 2 and then sack him in order to be able to flip it. Or you can, play him turn 3. If you have him and a Drover, turn 4, you get to play a land, and then you get to play 6-drop. So turn 4 Carnage Tyrant feels pretty good. And then if they try to swing in and kill your dudes, you could sacrifice him to get back any of the earlier dinos that you had going on. I don't know, but mainly, the biggest thing you want is to be able to, as your hatchling is more of a removal-ish card, there wouldn't it be better to have a walk the plank? The double black's really rough. Because, and you might say, well, Tetsamok's double black. Yes, but you're not playing him in the late game anyway. And also, he's still good when you only have 1 black source, because he can still put prey counters, and more importantly, he's still a dino. And he's another creature. We need to be pretty creature heavy for Journey to have a lot of targets. So he works well as a dino with Priest of the Waking Sun, and more importantly, he's a 2-drop dino. So, because Seer doesn't have up to 1 dino to get back, it has to have 1 target. So he makes it important to have Seer have something to sacrifice to turn 3, turn 4 to get him back. So for all those reasons, I think Hatchling is a little bit better. Plus, our matchup against Merfolk is already bad. I mean, it's decent. If you're on the play, it's good. If you're on the draw, it's pretty bad. And I don't want another thing to make it even worse. So, Hatchling's been treating me pretty well. Like I said, guys, you could test stuff. He's been treating me well. I haven't had a ton of time to figure out other stuff, but in terms of 2-drop dinos, he's the best we got. So yeah, Seer is super important to be able to flip Journey to Eternity to get back your bros. There's so many times where you play control decks that rely on Primal Amulet, Search First Kanta, or Merfolk decks or Pirate decks that rely on vehicles, or that 1-drop enchantment that they draw a card every time you have a spell that targets them, with, Savage Stomp and stuff, or Tetsamok. That can get kind of rough. So playing Brontodon, sacking Brontodon to kill a thing, play Seer, block, sack Seer to get back Brontodon, kill their other thing. Like, you just really set them back a long way with Seer, so it's awesome. Please, guys. Alright, gamer, I'll heist with you. There we go. So he does work. His mana fixing and his ability to set up Journey to Eternity is amazing. Plus, sometimes you don't want cards straight to the battlefield with Journey. You want them into your hand for Priest or for Tetsamok. So being able to bring him back with Eternity and then sack him to bring the other dino into your hand is a big deal, so it's awesome. Doesn't show the digits and the number of hours anymore. No, I guess not. Once you get far enough up, Journey to D's nuts. Thank you, Caleb. Welcome to the stream, dude. Well played. So yeah, once you hit double digits, gamer, it tends to go. So we got that's what Seer is good for. Pretty much everything Drover's good for, just a little bit less aggressive. He's more for long game. Next we got Journey, which flips into, did I already forget what it flipped into? Gotta be kidding me. Journey, no, it's Acklazats. Nope. Goodness gracious. Only here for like 5 minutes, don't worry about me. Okay, dude, no problem. Atzal, that's it. Flips over to Atzal, right? So, nice, Yonya, nice. Okay, so you got Journey, right? This is the bread and butter of the deck. So the ramp and the mana fixing is super important, and then obviously bringing back the creature is crazy important. But even more important than that, it's crazy If you put this even on a Ripjaw Raptor or a Brontodon, you'd be surprised how much value there is in even just letting it die to combat and then getting it back right away. Not even having to activate it, just the fact that on this form, if it dies right away, you get it back. I've had it where they triple block my Raptor, my Ripjaw Raptor. I get it back right away, and they're just so far behind, because now I got the best engine, NA, put Journey on Brontodon, attack Brontodon, target Journey. Yeah, that's exactly what you do, Caleb. So that's why I like having, on turn 4, you consistently flip Journey. Because you can either have it die in combat with any of these guys, or at Seer or Brontodon, both can sack it. Because the reason being, the interaction, I explained this on my other deck tech, but you put it on Brontodon, you pay 1, target the Journey, as a part, and they can't even counter this or use a kill spell in response, because it's part of the clause in order to trigger his ability is to sack him. So before his ability even like finishes going on the stack, he's already in the graveyard, which means that Journey is already in the graveyard. So his targeting of destroying that enchantment fizzles, and then he comes back, Journey comes back flipped. So even if they have no artifacts or anything, it's great. Chat's going crazy with the duels. Oh my gosh. So that's phenomenal. Plus, the stalemates this creates are of such great advantage to you. Where you're up against vampires or something, or like I said, red-green dinos. You play this on Drover or Priest of the Awakening Sun, they're not going to attack in. Even though you have a worse board state, they have like a ton of bros coming in ready to hit you. And you just plop this Journey down and you're like, I'm just going to wait till this Tetsamok comes down or this Zetalpa comes down, and you're going to lose anyway. So then they have to attack into it, and then you just win based off the flip side anyway. I like 4 seems kind of aggressive, but nice, Caleb, nice. 4 seems a little bit aggressive with the legendary thing, but there's a lot of decks running with the mana bases getting a little bit better. They can afford to run Field of Ruins. I usually run into 1 Field of Ruin about 75% of the games I play, so having the second one isn't rough at all. Plus, the other worry is that you have too many stranded in your hand and it's hard to flip them, but with 11 ways to flip it, you're always happy to draw it, or even have 2 in your hand, you're like, yeah, I'm fine with this. As long as I can keep 1 creature on the board, you're good. And with how creature dense we are, it's not that hard. So Journey to Eternity does work. I don't even know how to explain. All our guys have enter the battlefield triggers. Not enter the battlefield, but things they can do once they enter the battlefield. It's just amazing. Plus, here's the thing. People say, oh, well, you could get 2 for 1. Pretty much the only decks that can afford to do that, take the turn off for that, are control decks. And in which case, you can often carve out with turn 1 Priest of the Awakening Sun, turn 2 Drover, turn 3 Brontodon, right? So you have 7 power on the field. Then, if they tap out, easy. You just play Journey on Brontodon, you attack with everyone, you stack it to Brontodon, you flip Journey. If they're not tapped out, they're holding up Contempt or something, you just play on Priest of the Awakening Sun. And now they're playing their Vraska's Contempt on your Priest of the Awakening Sun, and you're attacking in for 6. So it puts them in a really rough position. So you just got to learn how to play this right in the right matchups, and it is just always an asset. Super great. Oh my goodness, chat's going crazy. I'm going to move you guys up a little bit. There we go. Cool. So Journey is an absolute all-star. My pet card. I'm biased, sure. You can admit that, but it's still a good card. Next we got Ranging Raptors. I would like a better 3-drop, something that has an Enter the Battlefield trigger or is a little bit more powerful board presence, but you need it against the aggro decks because they're a little afraid to ramp you up into your bigger threats. Especially, you know, when you reveal Tetsamok with Priest of the Awakening Sun, they're like, I don't know, man. Well, you are biased. Shh, yeah, no one needs to know about that. No one needs to know about that. I don't even know what you're talking about. Why big white dino? We'll get to that in a sec, Caleb. We'll get to that in a sec. We're going left to right. But mainly another mana fixer. A way to get just a lot of your lands out of the deck so that your draws are better. Just pretty much everything you expect him to do. He's great. He can even hit in. And he's just another dino, really. There's other 3-drops that would be better, but they're not dinos, so that's the problem. Savage Stomp is Savage Stomp, dude. I don't just tell you. It's a 1 mana cost removal. This deck is really mana intensive, as you can tell. So just a 1 mana removal spell is amazing. Plus, with Enrage on the Raptors and a Ripjaw Raptor, it's really good. Or, there's a lot of times where you can even Savage Stomp Drover, make him into a 4/4, or even just a 2/2 to get rid of like the really pesky early threats. And it's not terrible. You'd rather have it on Dino, but who reads left to right? I mean, well played, sir. Yeah, what is this? America? Deathcourt Scavenger is a better 3-drop. Yeah, the thing is, I haven't had enough Deathcourt Scavengers to really test that. So that is a good point, Key. I'd totally support Scavenger on this too. The thing is, it's usually, if your opponent has a lot of removal, getting rid of these guys, it's kind of hard to hit your land drops or go into the late game fast enough. So Raptor is just another way to fix your mana. If you have 4 Sun Petal Grove, and like, once the new set comes out, the black-white, black-green buddy lands, all those, and your mana is like solid, I would totally cut Ranging Raptor. That'd be one of my first cuts. But for now, this is what we've had to use in order to get the mana base better. But I totally agree, Kay. Totally agree. I don't even... Alright, whatever you want, Caleb. Whatever you want, bro. So yeah. Raptors a little bit better on defense, too. But I agree. I could even see 2 Raptors, 2 Scavengers would probably be pretty good. But with 4 Savage Stomp, 2, he seems a little bit better. Read it backwards, bro. Psh. Who... Oh, I got you. I got you. I was thinking you're doing the thing where the first 2 letters are right. Guys, it takes too much concentration while doing a deck tech. So yeah, we got all these Savage Stomps going for our removal suite. Next we got the Brontodon. You guys already know that. There's a lot of decks that rely on enchantments or artifacts. A lot of the control decks. Because the finishers are too susceptible to removal. So they think they can sneak it by with, you know, primal amulets. There's a lot of those. There's a few Pirates decks that run a lot of... the Pirates Cutlass is okay with the flyers. Curious Obsession has been run a lot now. The one enchantment... What is it called? I don't remember what it's called, but it gives them +2/+2 and flying for 2. That's a big deal. Brontodon saved me from a lot of those. And then there's a lot of the vehicles. The Pirates flagship and stuff. He hits all of those. And it feels amazing. Plus, more importantly, he can flip Journey. So he's never a dead card. 3/4 body for 3 is also a big deal. And, you know, he just curves out really well with Drover. And he's just, he's an all-around guy who's never bad. He is never bad. So we'll move on to the next one. Ixalan's Binding. Now, I only run 2. The reason being that when your opponent gets this Zalpa or something like that out, just some sort of threat, Planeswalkers mainly is what Ixalan's Binding is for. Or the opposing Ixalan's Binding, even more so, is what this is for. So we never play our bindings first. We don't have to because we have Brontodon, right? So whenever they have their bindings out, they're binding our Raptors or something, or a Brontodon. You're happy to play Brontodon tapped out if you have a binding in hand. Otherwise, you always have to save up 1 mana, because if he gets binding, you're just screwed. So I did get a Whisper, Sudden Strength. I'll get back to you in a second. Appreciate it. No, I lost my train of thought. Okay, yeah. So binding is mainly good against Planeswalkers because they can get out so many chump blockers. Like Vraska is a big deal that you can't really, unless you're on the play, you're not really bringing them down just with your board state. So binding is a good way to do that, and then just mainly for other bindings is the big deal, and then also flyers. So, damn. Oh my gosh. Caleb, you're so bad. Next we got Ripjaw Raptor. He's mainly just here because he's a big body. He makes attacking really awkward for your opponent. When you get him down turn 3, the board just stabilizes, unless they have a binding or something. And then even, I had a Merfolk deck where they were too afraid to attack. I mean, this was a misplay, obviously, but too afraid to block when I attacked with Raptor. And I literally got him down from 20 to 4. And then they had to start chump blocking. And that feels bad. Chump blocking Ripjaw Raptor is the worst feeling in the world. So, why is this resetting again? Bum, bum. We're on interactions. Live split. Now we can communicate without Eugene knowing. Oh my gosh. Well, you guys could whisper anyway, too. So yeah, Ripjaw Raptor is just there as a huge body. He's something to keep in your hand a few turns with Priest of the Awakening Sun anyway. Never a sad thing to get back with Journey. He's pretty much just how we affect the board, while these guys are how we keep ourselves in the long game and can interact with what the opponent's doing, while he lets us stay around that long. Next we got one Carnage Tyrant. He's pretty much just a way to fetch up Priest of the Awakening Sun. Lets us fetch up him. since we just like having silver bullets for certain matchups. Tetzamach is amazing against Dinos and Merfolk and Vampires, so that's why we have 2. And also, more importantly, it's amazing to have 1 in the graveyard and 1 in your hand. You know why? Kaladesh isn't in Arena, right? Right, okay, for sure. Because there's a lot better things you could be doing than this if there was Kaladesh. Right now it's only Ixalan and Rivals. Pretty soon they're going to be putting in Our Devastation and Amonkhet. So, yeah, that's coming. But right now, this is all we got to work with. That's why half the decks are Dinos. So yeah, we got Tetzamach doing work. So Carnage Tyrant is for, oh, they're adding old sets? Nice. Yeah, for sure. They might, if they take too long for Kaladesh, they might just wait until it rotates out and then have full standard once the new set comes in, Dominaria. But we know for sure Our Devastation and Amonkhet will be in here. So yeah, it's awesome, dude. They got, you can check out the Wednesday streams too on the Wizards, the actual Magic Twitch page. Every Wednesday at, I think it's 5 p.m. Eastern time. I don't know the Western time for them, but you know. So yeah, Carnage Tyrant is our way to deal with control decks because, you know, Ixalan's Binding and Vraska's Contempt is a big deal. But if you play Priest of the Awakening Sun, they can't counter that because they tap out on a 1-drop, but then you get to play all your other threats. So you play Priest of the Awakening Sun, he resolves, then you get to sack him, get Carnage Tyrant, they can't counter him, and now they're kind of stuck. So you can attack with just him, they have to settle the Wreckage him, and then you have all your other threats swinging in next turn. So, feels really good. Tetzamach is amazing. Like I said before, he's good against like every deck. Anytime you have 1 spare mana, he sets you up to just blow your opponents out. And then they have to attack into your Ranging Raptors, your Riptor Raptors, all that nonsense. Official channel? Yeah, no thanks. The reason I'm watching you instead of the MTG Championship right now. Yeah, for sure, Kay. I appreciate that. It's good to know I'm better than... slightly better than what they got going on. But yeah, for sure. The it's only a pretty much a 45-minute stream. It's an hour long, but with the intro and outro, it's like a 45-minute stream. I pretty much watch the first 10 minutes to get updated on what's happening in Arena, and then just skedaddle. So yeah. But Tetzamach, the reason I had 2, I had 1 for the longest time, but then I realized 2 is much better because you keep 1 in your hand, and then you either play the other or bring it back with Journey. Got better campus mic settings at least. True. Yeah, especially with the Super League, where they have the people coming in and they just have like these headphones. For sure. Appreciate that. So you keep 1 Tetzamach in your hand, or you can return it to your hand from your graveyard with the Seer. It's amazing. And then you play the other out or you bring it back with Journey. Thank you, Caleb. Best command ever, right? And he just does so much work. He comes down to 6/6 Death Touch, deals with any threat. He is an all-star. Oh, man. Yeah, so he's great in a board stall. He forces an opponent that's trying to build up a board to go wide against you. Boards that go wide really quick are the ones you struggle against. But he puts on enough pressure that they have to tack into your enraged creatures, and you get so much value that you can usually turn the corner anyway. Best command is D's nuts. So good. Oh my gosh. I'm really sorry, guys. Give me 1 second. My dog is barking and I live in an apartment complex, so I can't let her do that. 1 second. Unbelievable. Sorry, everybody. My dog literally wanted me to tuck her in. My neighbor's dog barks like all day, every day. But then the neighbors complain about our dog barking like twice. So, don't want to get kicked out. Okay, so moving on to the next one is Zitalpa. Now, like I said, I think this one's up for a ton of debate. It's just one I've been having the most fun with, but we're super weak to flyers. And he's the only card I've found that can consistently shut down flyers that are just getting over us. Because, you know, if they can deal with your Priest of the Awakening Sun, or you only draw like one, or, you know, you get them late game, or they kill the first one, and then you only have one more. By that point, if it's like turn 4, turn 5, they're attacking for like 6 to like 9 damage a turn. So if you can't turn the corner, you happen to have a slow draw, your Savage Stomps are getting countered by Siren Storm Tamer, which is this bro over here. Those are a lot of effects, right? Siren Storm Tamer, there we go. This guy wreaks havoc if they don't tap out, which they shouldn't, on your Savage Stomp and stuff. So we just need one flyer that we can fetch up with the Priest of the Awakening Sun to be able to deal with those, what is it called? Favorable Winds decks, which is all flyers. So that's why we have Zitalpa. He's good for the meta. I think once we get other sets in here, we'd probably cut him for, you know, cheap removal. Fatal Push would make this deck a lot better. For sure, something like that. But yeah, that's what Zitalpa does for us. So yeah, that's the deck. We don't have a sideboard right now because there's no best of 3, but this is the deck I've been running. It's been a ton of fun. We can get on over now to optimization. The changes I would make to optimize it: cut that Storm Tamer, first of all, right? My official recommendation is play more Commune. Maybe though, I was honestly gonna say, I would think I could either cut a Hatchling for a Bloodfast. This is a rare, so it's kind of hard to get. Cut a Hatchling for a Bloodfast, because with this guy, you can definitely afford it. With the easy sack outlet, and also the life gain, he becomes a big deal. Makes you better against Control, which is your worst matchup already anyway. So, I think that would be pretty good. I would... What else would I do? I think that's like the biggest change, though. I'd find a better 2-drop than Hatchling. I would cut Ranging Raptors for at least 2 of them. If you have a good mana base, I'd cut the Raptors for, gosh, what's the guy called? Case recommended it. Deathgord Scavenger. He's a little bit better of a beater. He does gain you some life as well. By the way, Yuji, I want your opinion by the time I get, you know, what do you think would be a good start for okay, Ixalan? So 1 sec, Canyon, 1 sec. We'll get to that right after the deck tech. Yeah, so if you can fix the mana base, I would cut Raptors for Deathgord Scavenger. Oh my goodness. And then I'd cut Hatchling for a better 2-drop. Maybe Argyle's Bloodfast, and then figure out Commune with Dinosaurs. These 2 slots right here are the ones I've been testing the least. It's mainly the other stuff but I haven't been testing. I wouldn't go more than 3 Seers, because with him not having a target in the graveyard, it's kind of sad to put Journey on him. So I'd rather have more Dinos and fewer Seers than more Seers and fewer Dinos. But yeah, that's the deck tech. It's been treating me really well. We can get into the matchups. There's not a lot of different optimization for this one. That was fast. So the meta, as we all know, anyone who's in Arena knows, it's Dinos, Merfolk, and then a whole mixture of about 10% of all of Control Vamps. You want to test, play 2 of them, and see which ones you were happy to have. Yeah, for sure. Well, I was thinking even you could do 2 Raptors, 2 Scavengers. For sure. Yeah, and so that was the thing too, Kay, is I had to spend all my later peeps. All right, Caleb, have a good one. Have a good one. Is this MTG Arena? This is a deck for Arena. Kaisos? Kaisos? Kaisos is what I'll say. Also, welcome. So yeah, this is a deck tech for Arena. This is a separate client that I'm building the deck in. Because, you know, non-disclosure agreement and everything. No, this is Patrick. Oh my gosh. But yeah, I had to spend all my wild cards to get the Tetsumox and stuff, so I didn't get to. You could say as you want. Appreciate that. Appreciate it. I love when people are easygoing. Welcome to the stream. Glad to have you. We're just on the end part of this, as you can see. We're talking about the matchups. So, but yeah, to get back to what you're saying, Kay, is I didn't get to test the Raptors because Deathward Scavengers are rare. So I only have 1, so it's not enough to really test it. NDA violation report. There have been a few of those guys, and it's really not cool for those guys. Those of us who are just trying to stay around. Thanks, mate. Yeah, no problem, dude. No problem. I love talking about Magic. So the more the merrier, right? So yeah, I would recommend testing Scavenger for this. I can't say it personally because I don't have enough copies of the card. I'd like at least 2 to be able to test. So yeah, find a better replacement for Hatchling and Raptors. But anyway, so for the matchups, you got Dinos, you got Merfolk, which are the big 2, right? And then you got a whole mixture of all the rest of the decks are like 5 to 10% of the meta, where it's like Vampires, Control, Black Green Explore, Jund, good stuff. is one I've actually even made too. So against Dinos, our matchup, if we're on the play, is really good. Because Priest of the Awakening Sun, the thing about other Journey decks too is that you want to be able to put it on your 1 and 2 drops, but it's really awkward to have 1 or 2 drops that are super weak and that don't let you, you know, it feels bad when they have a 2-1 and they attack into your 1-1 and you can't block. Stuff like that is really bad. So it's good to have, it's really good in this deck. You have guys who add value and you're fine with them. This guy not blocking turn 1, turn 2 is no problem because you get the health back, right? Drover, you just untap with him and then you get to do crazy stuff, so you don't mind not blocking with him. So that's why it's super good. If you're on the play, this guy gains you enough life and Drover ramps you quick enough that you can put Journey on whichever one you want to chump with, or you can ramp into these guys for threats. So we all know, anyone who's played knows that whoever gets the Ripjaw Raptor out turn 3 in the Dino's mirror is going to win it. So if you're on the play, this deck's amazing. If they don't have the removal spell, or they tap out the turn that you play Journey to flip it, you win. If you flip Journey, you win. Like, just straight up. I don't think there's been a single game where I flipped Journey and lost. And that's the whole point of the deck. We have the value that'll take us much further into the late game than them. Because they're just hoping to top deck, you know, Commune or Regisaur Alpha. And, you know, we already have a Bronson on to block the 3-3. And then we could chump the 4-4 with Raptors or double block with Priest and Drover or something, and then just get them back. So your matchup against Dinos is really favorable. On the draw, you're just hoping they don't have a removal spell for your Drover, because then in which case your Bronton is matching up with their Raptor, turn 4, turn 5. So that feels kind of bad. But on the play, you feel very comfortable. Merfolk. Merfolk is pretty much a 50-50, if we're being honest. If you're on the play, you're like 60-40-ish, because you can get, all you need is 1 copy of Savage Stomp or Brontodon. Pretty much, if you could flip Journey, or you get a Savage Stomp, you're good. So, if any of your 3 drops are the ones you want, because there's 2 sets pretty much you want, right? You want either Savage Stomp and Brontodon, or Journey and Seer. Because then you can chump block their early threats that are much more powerful than yours. And then, you know, once you get those going on, you can either Savage Stomp their Kumena with Brontodon, or you can get into the late game really quick by flipping Journey with Etzok and Seer. Or, you know, best case scenario, they don't have any other unblockable dudes or a Kumena, and then you just go Drover into Raptor, and then the board state stalls, and then you just get him out of there with Tetzamok, right? So if you have Tetzamok in your hand and you can get to him, you win. If you can flip Journey, you win. That's pretty much what every matchup looks like, except for Control. So Merfolk, if you're on the draw, it is not good at all. Because they usually can leave up 1 or 2 mana for the Perilous Voyage. There it is. Which feels really bad. Because in other decks, if they tap out and you know they don't have Excellence Binding or something, any deck where you know red is their only removal, you just play Journey on whatever creature you have while they're tapped out. Every time. Every time. Because then they can just either chump block it, they either have to attack in and then you just block, or you can start attacking in with a big threat like Raptor or Brontodon, and they eventually have to block it and kill it, and then you just have a flipped Journey anyway. But Perilous Voyage puts the dude back in your hand. It's a huge tempo swing. They get to scry too, and your Journey goes in the graveyard. So that Perilous Voyage isn't... it comes out a 1-for-1. Like, that feels really bad. So, if they can get to a point where they can leave up Perilous Voyage while you're struggling to, like, deal with their board state, it's really rough. So, Merfolk is still a menace, for sure. But if you can get your Savage Stomp or 1 big guy out there, that gets you in the late game, you're looking pretty good. Other matchups I would say is Control. Control is one of the most player-intensive matchups, I would say, in that 2 different people could play this deck against the same Control deck and have 2 very different outcomes. So all matters in who you put Journey on, how your hand curves out, who you fetch up with Priest of the Awakening Sun, how you use your Argyl's Bloodfast, what you use your Ixalan's Binding on, for sure. Those are all huge deals. So my rule of thumb is your first thing you try is to try to like curve out like Priest of the Awakening Sun into Drover into any 3-drop Dino, and then you get to untap is amazing. Because then, like I said before, you play Journey on your 1-drop, your 1/1, and then you're attacking in for 5 or 6 damage with your Drover and Raptors or Brontodon. And they're spending their Vraska's Contempt or their Ixalan's Binding on your 1/1. It's still a 2-for-1, sure, but they're going so far behind on the board that you're getting ahead. So making sure that you have your wits about you for those type of plays, and then also being able to make them sort of undervalue Priest the Awakening Sun so that you can fetch Carnage Tyrant will also win you the game as well. So if you can keep him alive most of the game, and they're getting rid of your Raptors or Brontodons, because if they don't, they'll die. And then in the late game, if you top deck him or if you have him on the battlefield, they can't counter him because you play out all your other threats. And then once he's on the board, you just fetch up Carnage Tyrant, they can't counter him. So it's really good against control. And then for Explore, the matchup's 50-50, I would say. If they run Field of Ruin and you don't draw enough Journey to Eternity, they can usually kind of outvalue you because they end up getting like 50 life with their Wild Growth Walker. Because everyone has a lot of Jade Light Rangers now. So then you sneaking in damage through Raptor and stuff isn't as cute. So you gotta just wait until the board stalls and they get a Vraska. And then if you don't draw your binding for their Vraska, you pretty much just lose. So if you can't get out ahead of them or flip your Journey and have it stick around for at least 1 or 2 turns, then you're kind of a rough spot. But if you can, it's looking pretty good for you. So if they don't run Field of Ruin, it's like 70% in your favor. Because they just have to attack through your guys, you know? And if they tap out at all for their Moment of Craving, then you just get to play Journey to Eternity and a Drover or something, and then they're kind of stuck. If they run 1 or 2, I versed one guy who played 4 Field of Ruin, 4 Vraska's Contempt. Those decks you're going to get screwed on, right? But that's a rare breed, so usually your matchup's really good. I'm trying to think, Vampires, your matchup's amazing. Because this guy shuts down almost any offense they have, unless they have, you know, 2 Lords and, what is it called? Radiant Destiny? Whoops. What is it? Something Destiny, right? Yeah, it is Radiant Destiny. This guy. If they have like 3 Anthem effects, then their guys are going to start getting through your Brontodon, right? But if you ever what's about you don't play into their Ixalan's Binding with all the things I said before about the interaction with Brontodon, you'll be amazing. Because your big guys completely slow down their board. You have enough removal to deal with their Lords. And then Journey to Eternity just takes you into the late game flying. Plus Tetsamok just went to the game. That's really what you're doing. You're just getting Tetsamok. So yeah, that's pretty much all the main matchups. I guess in conclusion, this deck is a good tier 1.5 to... If it curves out, it feels tier 1. It's consistently tier 1.5. If you have the mana base for it, it can be tier 1 pretty consistently. It takes a lot of play to make it really good, but that's the fun of it. You have to have a lot of weird rares, though. Like, I just end up with 4 Priest of the Sun, so I'm like, I gotta make this guy useful. And then, you know, 4 Journey, which, if you're me, you have right away. First wildcards are used on Journey. But yeah, so it has some weird rares, but if you have a decent Dino base, and then just happen to have 2 or 3 of these guys, you can make it work. So it's just a fun brew I had that isn't, you know, Dinos or Merfolk. That's all. So yeah, that's a fun one. That was a fun one. We got that going. Boom.